Well, happy Wednesday, hump day here in Pennsylvania. Taking a little lunch break, came over to Tim's, Austria. Absolutely ecstatic about the Russian Revolution taking place as early as it possibly can. I realize the complexities of this, so I'll talk about it a little bit more here in a minute. In the meantime, I have 17 IPP. I'm going to roll one tech for poison gas. I'm going to roll blue die for diplomacy with Greece, the yellow for diplomacy with Sweden. I'm buying 9 IPP in infantry, 2 in this colonial, and I'm buying a cavalry. So you can see all that down here for my purchases. So let's start with the technology. And I need a 6. Can I do that much? No, I roll a 5. This gets better every time. All right, once again, I said the blue is for Greece and the yellow is for Sweden. And hey, Sweden, they see how valuable it is to join Austria. At least they know I'll never attack them because I would fail miserably. Anyways, so once again, those are my purchases. For my attacks, I'm going to roll, believe it or not, an attrition attack into the Serbians, just mostly because I can. I have 3 artillery, and I feel like it needs to be done. And wow, really close, but no dice there. So I'll take that off. I am performing only... I'm performing the non-combat of moving this colonial from Asturia, Vasconia to Leon Castile. So that will put 2 in Leon Castile. Okay, and so let me take my units now and place them. I'm placing 1 colonial in Bulgaria, which would be 1 colonial, 1 militia in Bulgaria. I am placing 1 cavalry and 1 infantry into Vienna, which will go there, and disposition of forces, just so everybody's clear. There's 2 militia. Looks like 4, or what is that?
Green's 3.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 infantry, 3 cavalry, a mountain, a naval infantry, 2 German infantry, and 3 Austrian artillery. So that should be sufficient. Remaining 2 infantry. 1 will go into East Hungary, and 1 will go into Bohemia. So that's that. So let me talk about the Russian Revolution a little bit, using my designer hat. So the Russian Revolution is probably the most difficult thing I could have ever endeavored to design, because there is not just 1 and 2 sides to this, black versus white, green versus blue, however you want to call it. But you have not only a 3rd set, you have additional sets, other non-state actors who are going to participate in this. So as we get ready to reset for the Russian Revolution, and first of all, it's going to be very interesting. He's going to have, there's a minimum number of forces that he will get regardless of how many forces he has on the board now. So he's going to take his forces that he currently has, he's going to add them up, cut them in half, and if they don't equal the minimum, then he's going to get up to the minimum. Now, just based on my experience, I think he's going to exceed the minimum in all counts. The Germans are going to keep their territory. In fact, they're going to get some additional territory and be able to place militia as they administer the Baltic nations. And then Finland, Poland, and the Ukraine are all going to be separate states. And so that is... those are other actors that will be controlled by the powers on the board. And you're going to have red versus white Russians. You're going to have the Allies, who are able to attack either the red or the whites and controlling their own whites, which is kind of like the states that they're sponsoring. And then you're going to have the Central Powers, who are unable to attack the reds because they agreed not to, but they can use the whites as kind of their surrogates to perform those functions. They can reinforce them, and they can basically fight the red Russians by using the whites. Additionally, you're going to see strict neutrals pop up, like the ones that the British smacked down here. Very similar. There's going to be other strict neutrals that are going to pop up or be placed as part of the random event. So it is complex. Global 14 could have been a two-person game, but once you get to the Russian Revolution, it can't be. So I recommend any of you who are playing just two people that you don't even attempt it with the Russian Revolution. It'll make your head hurt, and quite frankly, you would just end up manipulating the game in your favor or whatever you need to do. That made the victory objectives complex and everything else. So let me stop yammering about that and roll for my wartime income, which is a healthy 10. Thank you. And so I will collect 18, so 15, 16, 17, and 18. That is Austria. Obviously, I didn't want to do any real attacks against the sponsored Serbians because they're about to withdraw as part of the agreement with Russia, as Russia has now been, convinced that they need to end the war. And they were convinced internally more than externally. It's a fascinating history when you read about how Germany was negotiating. The Russian Revolution started as the Tsar came out of power, and you had different sides trying to control Russia while Russia was still at war. So you had the Bolsheviks, and you had the proletariat, essentially the wealthy landowners still trying to run the military, but the Bolsheviks were really in charge, and there was this tension. And of course, Germany had sent Lenin to secretly to kind of take firm control over the Red Russians and the Soviets. And Soviets were really just collective groups who represented the people. But they had, because they represented obviously more people than the rich, they had an incredible amount of control. And they came to the table, they were negotiating with the Germans to put an end to the war. This is a multi-month process. And the Germans made their demands, and Lenin just walked out. Decided that they would not recognize a state of war with the Germans. And the Germans found that rather bizarre, and actually took a lot of territory from the Russians during that confusion. The Russians were in no shape to attack anyone during this time frame, just to all the military confusion at the leadership levels. The political levels could not agree, so the soldiers were not exactly willing to attack anyone. So they came back to the negotiation table. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, you can read about that, gave away huge swaths to the Central Powers and essentially ended the war. And that's, it was afterwards when the Reds and Whites really began fighting in earnest. And that's why this was so difficult to create, and why those other nations are going to pop up, and other territories like Finland and Poland and Ukraine are going to exert their ability to become independent. So look forward to this with the others. I have not played truly with a large group in some time. The Russian Revolution is going to be it's going to be a wild one. So hang on, and we'll see you next turn.